Welcome back to Thinking Critical, everybody. This is Wes, and today, my good friend Skipitosh and I, the Skip and D Connection, are going to give you Geek Culture 411, all that comic industry news. What's up, Skip?
Oh man, not much, man. Just here we live on Twitch. Got some people in the chat. Got some news to talk about. I'm ready to give the news. Let's do it.
You ready for this? All right.
Yeah.
Birds of Prey finally hits theaters worldwide next week, and the film is screening for critics. Thus far, the early reactions are overwhelmingly positive. On a scale of Captain Marvel to Endgame, how excited are you for Birds of Prey?
You, this is gonna be interesting, but since the reviews have been overwhelmingly positive, and not just because they've been overwhelmingly positive, and I'm not the biggest fan of who has been giving the positive reviews. I usually don't trust those reactions, but it's the specific things that they've been saying within the reactions that have me a little more curious. And some of them that I thought would turn me off, like it being similar to Deadpool, which I kind of already gathered. But it's some of the other things regarding like the action and stuff like that, and some of the other performances from Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Huntress. Some of and I, as much as I'm not a fan of what it sounds like the depiction of Black Mask is, I hear Ewan McGregor's performance is like pretty good. So those things actually have me a little more excited to go see the movie. So on a scale of Captain Marvel to Endgame, I'm gonna be Captain Endgame. I'm right in the middle. What about you, Wes? You a little more interested to give this movie some of your time or no?
I'm saying not so fast, my friend, because this is the shill media. You know, it's not in vogue to dump on Harley Quinn yet. So those the shill media aren't ready to go lockstep. I happen to know a guy that went to a screener, and he said it was worse than Suicide Squad. Uh, so
That's
my
exactly what
source
I did
says
want
it
to
was
hear.
actually really bad, and it was it was a like a feminist anthem film, which is basically what I
Gotcha.
thought it was going to be to begin with. Which you can do
Hmm.
that, you know. I liked. What's the one where they jump off? They drive off the cliff.
Oh, Thelma and Louise.
I like Thelma and Louise. That's a good
Me
movie. I've
too.
seen Fried Green Tomatoes. You know, that's all great. Hell, I like Golden Girls. You know, I can get down with some of that stuff, but it sounds like maybe Birds of Prey isn't quite what the shill media is making it out to be. But me personally, I'm at a Captain Marvel still. I'm not interested in this movie. I'm not going to waste my money.
That's fair, and it's funny too because that's why I said I don't trust who I don't trust where that news is coming from as far as like, oh, it's great, it's great, it's great. But they said some specific things I was like, I'm interested in that. But I trust your sources more than I trust, as you said, the show media. So we will see when it comes out. I even though I'm not, even though I am a little more excited to see it, I already knew I was going to actually go see it. So when it comes out, you guys can expect a reaction and possibly even a review from yours truly, Skip and Tosh, here on the Thinking Critical channel. But we've got some other DC news that has also come up. Scott Snyder recently posted a teaser image for his upcoming Wonder Woman-led death metal event, which he claims is the conclusion of all his DC work in the past decade. When asked if this is the last series with DC Comics, Snyder said no. He is taking a step back from superhero comics afterwards, though. Good move or not good move, Wes?
You know, I'm a Scott Snyder fan. I think he has an overwhelmingly positive social media presence. He's a good ambassador for the industry. But you know, really, what is there left for him to do in capes? You know, he wrote and spearheaded an event called Dark Knight's Metal, enormous success. He wrote Batman for a few or 5 years, I believe, with Greg Capullo, huge success. You know, he actually created new lore in Batman. You know, Court of Owls, things of that nature, and they were all overwhelmingly well received. He just got off his 2 year run on Justice League. You know, he did a little mini event. You know, No Justice. He's done a little bit of work with Superman as well already, and I don't know that Superman's really his character anyway. You know, so where is there left for him to go? He's writing a Wonder Woman led event series. You know, the sequel to Dark Knight's Metal and Death Metal. So what's he gonna do next? You know, it, it's time for Scott Snyder to go back to his roots, get back to that horror flavor that really brought him to the dance anyway. He's already got Undiscovered Country through Image Comics. It's time for him to concentrate on some of his creator-owned stuff and really get back to what got him to the dance in the first place. And then you go back to Capes, when he gets a little bit of passion, maybe has some new stories he's ready to execute. At least that's my thoughts.
It makes sense to me. It's weird. I don't want to say he peaked so soon because he's not an overnight success. He put the time in and it did take him a while to get there, but I would say he peaked maybe a little bit earlier than most people that have his skill set might have peaked and his popularity. But even with that, yeah, like he got to write Superman inside of Justice League. I'm sure he wouldn't mind writing Superman, but DC.
He also had another Superman series. I can't remember the name of it, but he wrote it for a tiny bit.
Was it the Elseworld? One of the Elseworlds ones?
I don't believe it was. I can't remember the name right off my head.
Okay.
Right, on top of my head right now.
Right, but I mean, they're not going to be taking Superman away from Bendis. DC
property,
can't.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I think it is good for him to do that. I thought his Image comic Witches had gotten optioned for a show. I know that Undiscovered Country, you and I talked about that, had already been picked up to be turned into a show before issue number 1 even came out. But I think, like most successful, comic book writers, especially in this day and age, and even before, even in the 90s when, Peter Gregory, not Peter Gregory, why am I thinking? Peter David. When Peter David had all the success and then went over into TV, Howard Chaykin went over into TV. It's kind of a natural progression for them. And I think what else is cool is that if he takes the time off and then maybe Bendis keeps doing what he's doing to Superman, maybe then some time opens up if Snyder is available to come back and then do something with Superman after Bendis has done what he's done to it. And and shout out to Tevye out here. Tevye said he would personally Tevye's in our chat. He said I would personally love Snyder on Superman. So it sounds like there's some out there already for you to read, and I'm sure Tevye would love anybody to take over for Bendis. So those are my thoughts and Tevye's thoughts.
All right. Recently, it appeared the long-rumored The Crow reboot was no more after Jason Momoa pulled out of the project. New reports indicate Sony is once again working to revitalize the franchise. Who should portray Eric Draven in the reboot?
Oh, man, I was struggling on this one. Big time. It's such a specific and interesting character. And I heard that they wanted to go closer to the comic books this time around than the movie. Man, Jason Momoa seemed like he would be so good for it. The only other person I can come up with besides him to play the Crow is you, Wes. So I nominate Wes the D-Man to play the Crow in the reboot. Who you got?
The D-Man would make quite the Crow. I can tell you, I got the chops for it, but there's only one answer. It's Idris Elba.
Oh, and it's funny. I was just thinking about Idris Elba a second ago too.
Idris Elba should be the next guy in line to play every major star. In fact, I think when they reboot Justice League, he should be Batman, Superman, and Green Lantern. Because so absolutely, it's Idris Elba. Is Eric Draven? He always was meant to play that character, at least in my heart.
Makes sense, man. Makes sense. I do not disagree at all. Well, moving over to some Marvel news. Marvel announced the release of a 775-page omnibus collection of Absolute Carnage for $75. You jumping on this, Wes?
So I just want to get this out of the way. Absolute Carnage is a phenomenal story. Well, it's not phenomenal. It's a really good story that started out with a phenomenal number 1 issue. I really enjoyed it. I do think in hindsight, it should have just been a Venom story arc with a couple of crossovers into Miles Morales Spider-Man, probably Amazing Spider-Man. And I think it would have, in the long term, been more successful. But they did so many tie-ins, and a lot of it was filler. A lot of it really wasn't, didn't add flesh to the story or make it a more complete, enjoyable reading experience. So while I think Absolute Carnage is really good, and although I was disappointed, it's basically leading into the next event where Noel actually returns. I don't think this is the book that was really made for a 775 page omnibus, for 75 bucks, which actually isn't a bad price for Marvel Comics, if I'm being honest. I'm surprised it's not 125, but I don't know that all the the peripheral material to the main story, besides the stuff in Venom and Miles Morales, was really good enough to warrant an omnibus collection. But that's just my thoughts. What do you think, buddy?
I wasn't enjoying it enough to get through all of it. I agree with you though, as far as pricing, I'm surprised it's only 75 bucks for 775 pages when it comes to Marvel. So anybody who really enjoyed this story, and I can see some people maybe who are newer and this was like their first major event, um, 75 bucks might be a steal for you guys. So you might want to jump on that. But me, yeah, I don't. From hearing what everybody said, it just didn't seem like the tie-ins were really integral enough to warrant this type of omnibus. Remind me, was this not the same event where they were putting like an extra panel in to certain books to try to get people to buy the books like a treasure hunt to kind of find it?
Yes, this is the one with the unannounced variants, but of course, they came out before. They were called blood spattered variants, and there would be an extra scene in the back that kind of led into Absolute Carnage with the characters from the book that are in.
Yeah, so I'm wondering. I mean, they have to put all of those in there, right? Or are they gonna scatter them around various omnibuses?
Yeah, that's what
Maybe
they
that's
should
why
do.
it's
They
so
should
cheap.
randomly put them in this blood spattered omnibus cover, or it's the white rhino of comic book collectors.
Oh gosh, we better stop giving CB Cebulski ideas. We know he's listening right now. Oh gosh.
All right. Film buff Wet Dream Movie Pass officially died this week after parent company filed for bankruptcy. Skip, how could offering unlimited movie tickets for $10 a month not have been a profitable venture?
Man, those dudes. It was funny. MoviePass was something that I was following pretty closely. I used to be a big viewer of the John Campea show, and that was like, almost like if the John Campea show was like like a long run of comics, MoviePass was like a reoccurring theme or villain that would come back up and then go away for a few issues and come back. So it was really interesting to watch how they came up with something that probably was sustainable at $40 originally, and then I guess they thought it was a genius idea to drop it to 10 and then try to put the squeeze on movie theaters to try to cut in on their on like their snacks and stuff like that on their concessions. And once the movie theaters was like, nope, we're not having that, and then they started coming up with their own movie pass thing. I think that pretty much spelled trying to strong arm movie theaters first of all was already a bad idea, but then all you did was end up giving them the ammunition and the ideas to come up with their own movie pass, and they movie pass kind of killed themselves off. Just yeah, it's just not a sustainable model at all. But what I do appreciate from movie pass, and they probably didn't mean to do this, but how it did set up the movie pass idea for all the other Regal and AMC and all the other ones, which since they own the movie theaters and they take the concessions for them, it is sustainable and likely even semi profitable. Wes, what do you think about movie pass trying to put an armbar on the movie industry and ultimately choking themselves out?
When they announced it was $40, I was like, man, that's a lot. I mean, I go to the movies a lot, but what if I don't make a 40? What if I don't go to $40 worth of movies in a month? It'd be a waste of my money. Of course,
Right.
that would be what the movie pass people were hoping that you would do, that you wouldn't use it all. And then when they put $10, I was like, $10? Like, is there some place where they're selling tickets for new movies for $2? I don't get how this is all going to work. But I do believe you're correct. While the venture wasn't successful, and as soon as they dropped it down to $10, it was kind of doomed from the start. There's no money to be made anymore. Without the theaters themselves like jumping in on it. But of course they butted them out. But the one lasting legacy and the creators of MoviePass can take and say, hey, they created something that movie customers wanted, and the big chains ended up taking it, and they reshaped it and gave it to them in their own form, and So Movie Pass will live on forever because he's. I don't see that going away. Regal Pass and all that stuff is going to be there for the long haul. It's just too bad that their idea and their framework just wasn't the right model. It was confusing as soon as the $10 price point came out. I was like, that doesn't sound right at all.
Yeah, it sounded too good to be true, and ultimately it was too good to be true. Um, Another thing that I'm hoping is not too good to be true, but we'll find out here next month. Chip Zdarsky and the Dodson's crew have the new X-Men Fantastic Four miniseries launching next week. What are you most looking forward to in this series?
So this is where the ones I'm really looking forward to. Dawn of X has been a bit of a letdown, because the expectations were through the roof with House of X Powers of 10. That's a phenomenal story. That is an instant classic right there, and very few of the titles have really lived up to those expectations. But Fantastic Four X-Men is one of those things I'm really looking forward to because Chip Zdarsky was phenomenal on Marvel 2-in-1. It was the perfect reintroduction to the first family of Marvel comics with Johnny Storm and the Thing, traveling together and trying to find Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. It's unfortunate he did not get the Fantastic Four title that I think he earned and he deserved. It went to Dan Slott. So I've been waiting for him to be back on a Fantastic Four title. So that's what I'm most looking forward to is Chip Zdarsky back where he belongs, writing great characters and getting in on this Dawn of X action and helping Jonathan Hickman kind of expand and build on this X-Men reboot that had us so excited just months ago.
I agree. I feel the same way. I like Chip Zdarsky. I like what he's grown into too. He's come a long way. He's really matured a lot as a writer, and I don't just mean I mean like with him digging more into character and really portraying characters well and having creative ideas and reasons and even weight to some of his stories. And he's like a comedian. He's a comedic writer, so he has those chops as well, but he knows when to turn it on and turn it off. I would have loved for him to get the Fantastic Four over Dan Slott. Would have loved. I think Iron Man is enough for Dan Slott to have his hands on. So yeah, that would have been fantastic to me. But with that said, he's getting an opportunity here. It's 4 issues. It's part of this. So in a way, it's awesome because it's another. I mean, I think he's outgrown it with the Marvel 2-in-1, but it's another snapshot of what he could do with the Fantastic Four. It's on the stage, the platform of Dawn of X, so all eyes will be on it, and there won't be any excuses, as to why he doesn't get bigger opportunities after this. And I believe he'll knock it out. And he actually got a good set of artists. I really like the Dodsons. That they work so well together. I like their curves that they put. Like, I don't know, they like when it comes to lines, I don't know who has better like swoops and swirls than the Dodson crew. But anyway, I'm excited for it. I watched shout out to the homie Comic Stacks. I watched his preview of the book, and there was some really good stuff in there that felt like it was felt like better than some of the other previews I've seen for some of the other ongoing Dawn of X titles. So I'm pretty excited about this, Wes.
Awesome. Well, I think that'll basically conclude today's Geek Span. We gave you all the geek culture 411, talked about some comic news. We talked about some movie news, the death of MoviePass. We may your memory live on forever. Skip, is there anything you want to say before we sign off and I go take care of the baby?
Just thank you for everybody tuning in. Thank you for our new follow on Twitch, since we're doing this live on Twitch. Xheimer Tracks 2148. Appreciate that. Thank you to Tabu Ohana for sponsoring us with the gaming chair. If you guys are interested in one, links will be in the description, and you can always hit me up on social media. There's an event tonight that I'll be going to at a gaming lounge, which should be really fun. Thank you for everybody who supports us on Coffee with the one-time donations and the ongoing ones. And don't forget to join the Discord where we talk about comics in there.
Later.